Hi, and welcome back to the Self Care Zone podcast. Today, on the Leaders of Leaders episode, I'm here with the amazing Amy Gray from NDIS Blackbelt. Welcome, Amy.
Hello, Brett. Thank you so much for having us on your show, all about self-care. Such an important part of our industry, I think. We sit
Absolutely.
in the NDIS space, and I think we've got some pretty high burnout uh, numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was looking across Australia across the industry, the burnout rate is kind of around that 12 to 14%, where in the NDIS space, especially for casual employees, it's around 28%.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
massive burnout in our industry.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the work, isn't it? And we sometimes don't always recruit with reality as to the workplace that they're stepping into.
Yeah.
And that some of the work that I've done is really talking to providers about let's give them a realistic version of what they're actually walking into because do you know what? This is complex work.
Yeah.
And sometimes we walk into homes that are sort of really littered with trauma and complex disability, and we don't always make sure our staff, especially our new staff, know that, do we? We
Yeah.
sort of sell the dream a little bit. I mean, we've all been there where we launched that good old-fashioned support work is rewarding campaign.
Yep.
But I think we can kind of include a little bit of the grit of the industry as well as the gold to make sure we don't add to those burnout rates.
Yeah, for sure. And like I was, you and I both worked in the industry for a while. We're experienced operators. Um, but even for someone who is walking in, as you said, to as a new support worker, and that trauma and complex issues isn't just the clients or the participants, it's also the experienced staff that have been there for a while and bickering amongst themselves and, split teams. And that's adding to this conflict as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's really like where I love to see it, which is looking at kind of the culture of what is within the industry to start with.
Yeah.
Like I started Disability Culture Crew Australia with that intent at the end of the day. I had those three little words, right, on the mission statement, like as clear as it got,
Yeah.
which was change the culture
Yeah.
because it is, in fact, one of the most rewarding industries in the world, I think.
Yeah.
But, there's been a little bit of damage done over the years where we haven't really looked after staff and we haven't been part of kind of like intentionally building good culture. Because this is what happens at the end of the day. We shape it or
Mm.
it sort of shapes itself.
Yeah.
And it can shape itself from like the loudest noise in the room, which sometimes can be those sort of little bit bitter staff or
Mm.
staff that have been a little bit affected by the nature of the work, not through their fault because we haven't always supported them.
Yep. So then how do you go about changing this culture within a team?
That's very much the work, I guess, that DC Crew does. So
Yeah.
we sort of work from ground level. So we've
Hmm.
built these little products, like workshops that we take in to work with organizations. And we start actually, what we do is we identify that within our industry, we really need a rock solid culture.
Yeah.
We really have this bridge to gap, don't we, between sort of what the industry is currently providing and what our families sort of need and our participants sort of need, and our staff and families fall into that little gap there.
Yep.
And when we kind of look at that gap, we don't just improve services, we improve lives.
Yeah.
So that's very much what we do. So we look at actually working with all of the staff in the first workshop. It's about building the culture from the ground up.
Hmm.
So not only do we spend time looking at what we call the 12 cultural tattoos, right?
Yep.
But we look at some culture killers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which are like really big. I'll try and find a little book. I actually have a book. Um, I'll I'll get it here. Look, this is the author proof. And this is why I think it's so important. So this is what the staff get when they do the workshop. And I say, guys, keep it in your shift bag, because
Yeah.
within this one, it's called the culture fix, the language of us. It's got a whole heap of language that we can use. In order to change the culture, we need to kind of change the way we think, and we can't just ask people to do that without giving them the tools, which is comes down to language. I think it's super powerful.
Yeah, but and also too, changing that culture isn't just a bottom up approach in providing a platform for the support workers to have a voice and to, say when things aren't right. But it's also a top down approach in that the leaders need to guide and direct this culture change as well.
100% we need everybody on board.
Yeah.
You hit that right on the head at the end of the day, especially it needs to come from the top.
Mm. Well, they're the ones that are
And
approving everything and have the budget for it, and essentially have the final say. But when we're like when the managers and leadership are saying, "Oh, that's a support worker problem," you're never going to be able to fix that.
yeah, do you know what? I go around and I post things on LinkedIn and other social media platforms saying, can everyone just like sit together for a moment and let's actually talk about the product that we're selling,
Yep.
which is direct service hours. Yeah, that's what our
Mm.
families and our participants are buying. And
Yeah.
that is what pays our bills as
Mm.
providers, right? And the quality of those hours
Yeah.
is not determined by our bloody policy manuals or what we tell our staff to do. It is determined by our people.
Yeah. Yep. And that's
And
it.
this is where this is where we're trying to change, and we're trying to change the trajectory of the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sort of see myself like, I want to be part of that, because a shift in thinking, even just by a few little degrees, right?
Mm.
When we chart that out over years, we can kind of take this industry somewhere where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And we're so happy to be part of that process at
Yep.
the end of the day. I've got a coaching philosophy when I work with providers. I say, if we can see it and we can face it, we can say it, and then we can fix it.
Yep.
And sometimes it's hard conversations, and
Mm.
that philosophy is built on the belief that uh, that us as people don't change through comfort. We kind of change a little bit through being confronted.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
so
that's kind of where what like a mantra I've kind of lived by for the last 12 months, in that, the growth that I want to achieve is outside of my comfort zone. It's when we step into those discomfort that we go, hang on, we can do this, we can manage this. But the growth that comes from that is amazing.
Yeah, do you know, we call it brutal kindness
Yeah.
coaching, and that's actually Amy Gray's philosophy. Yeah, we're fast and we're furious, and it's impact per minute.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in sort of a long-winded theory.
Mm.
I sort of believe in truth and clarity in action, and
Yeah.
that's really, if we want to support ourselves and our staff in this industry, that's where we need to be, because ultimately, like, it's a big job for us all. We've
Yeah.
got vulnerable people like my daughter, she's nearly 20,
Yep.
relying on us. So we need coaching in this industry, supportive, that's actually going to challenge us and
Yeah.
interrupt us. And I sort of say it's a little bit like that, like what you're saying, like radical accountability.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you just said, you can have all the theories and it's like you've read all the diet books, but you still can't lose weight. You've got all the knowledge, but it's the practicality and the shock to the system that you need to get that moving where you need to go.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm a writer by trade. I'm a nurse by trade. I love to write, but I wrote a piece of a little paragraph that sits throughout my family home, and it
Yeah.
talks about who we are as Greys, as people, and I say that it is within the hardest conversations, that's where the medicine lies.
Mm.
The magic is really in those places that I think we sort of tend to shy away from a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the hard conversations, and I think if we can all just have somebody, and that's what I say, this is who the Greys are. We sort of reach into those dark spaces and pull them out into the sunlight and put words to them. Like
Yeah.
that's who the Greys are.
Yeah. So it seems like you've got this really leadership type role, not just within your family, but with, the work that you're doing, but you're also seen as a leader within the space of the NDIS world. So what got you into this leadership type role, and what guided you and showed you the way forward?
Do you know what? I'm a couple of things. I'm the family that has support workers rostered in their home 7 days a week all year round.
Yeah.
And I've lived, right, what most of this sector just kind of chats about.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't refer to myself at all ever really as a leader. I feel like that word is just too polished for me.
Yeah.
What I see myself as doing, to be like totally blunt, is a bit of map making.
Yeah.
Because the in this sector, right, the truth is, right, we're all sort of traveling these roads that were never actually designed for us in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
families, as participants, as workers, as owners of organizations, we've all sort of been handed these maps that don't really match the terrain, right? Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think when I think about leadership not as sort of standing in front and as giving those directions. I see it as sort of like being sort of bold enough to pick up the pen and rewriting that map
Yeah.
so we can kind of get our people to where they need to go.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it means sketching out new sort of paths that we didn't even know existed, right? And
Hmm.
that's what we're doing at NDIS Black Belt. And some of what we talk about hasn't kind of hit yet because it is different. But what I say is if we want a different outcome, we need to change the narrative.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many of us are getting there to that point where we're starting to say, let's try and do something different. It's a
Mm.
pretty exciting time to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And like, there is this slow build too of, you know, people realizing, oh, we need to stand out. It's not just a matter of let's all follow the same path. It's we need to deviate from this path and show and work within our strengths to then, progress the industry and the sector, um, which is great because I think we all come from different areas, different backgrounds, different experiences, and we've all got different inputs. And this is even support workers, they've all got different lived experiences, and we need to learn from them as we build their skills and build them into leaders as well.
Yeah, you know what? This has been a really big challenge for me in this space, but there is really something very beautiful
Mm.
about bringing lived truth in and
Yeah.
allowing it to be heard,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes when it's done well, it's actually the most effective way to sharpen your strategy.
Yeah.
And that's a fact, like we know that. Um, I bring a little bit of something different. And the providers who take the time and work with us and they see it through our eyes, they never look at the industry the same way again.
Yeah.
There's lots of people like me, all of those conversations that we hear within the industry and we're part of as well because we're this industry as well, like
Yeah.
the forms and systems and policies and procedures and internal fixes for the support worker problems and the get client campaigns.
Mm.
They don't just kind of pass me by, they hit my life.
Yeah.
And when they hit you differently like that, because your family or your daughter's care is on the line.
Mm.
um I think that's a pretty valuable spot to be in.
Yeah.
And it helps us really, like when we engage some of that lived truth, it helps us kind of really connect to the core of who we are as an industry as well.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So, do you think then that going back talking about leaders and having to have the top down approach, do you think that it's the leader's responsibility to model self care in teams?
100%.
Yeah.
I think I've got it wrong. Probably, and I think that's actually like where the like where the power really is, isn't it? It's in the
Yeah.
mistakes.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can get caught up thinking that we're in a position of authority rather than responsibility.
Yeah.
And I learned it was really important to kind of hold the pen,
Yeah.
to be part, yes, of rerouting, but it also means kind of like carrying a bit more of a load. And you're right. Self-care needs to be threaded into the fabric of everything we do. It
Yeah.
doesn't just start at the back burner.
Mm.
For me, I dropped my own ball on well-being like so many times, on my own self-care so many times. And you know what? Like right now, I'm just sitting in the middle of the mess of it and rewriting what that actually looks like for me.
Yeah.
I, as I said, I've done 19 years as a carer, and I've had staff in my home, and lots of things go on in our personal life, and we build businesses not sort of like as a luxury. Sometimes it's to keep us all afloat, and
Mm.
self-care can, it doesn't always look like candles and bubble baths.
Yeah.
Um, but what I sort of learned is it's about nervous systems, isn't it? Mine
Mm.
included.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I sort of learned that looking after myself, as I said, had to be stitched into the very fabric of everyday life.
Yeah.
And I can't lead anything or anyone well if I'm dysregulated or running on empty or pretending I've got it all together.
Yeah.
Um, I think that self-care, like, it just probably shouldn't be thought of as optional. It is actual leadership, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. It's self-care is often seen as an optional extra, or it's a nice to have, or it's a I'll get there when I finish this work, get this, get through audit. I'll do self-care then.
Yeah,
But it's doing that now that it's going to make that easier in the long run.
yeah, yeah, 100%. We don't have to do it perfectly.
No, there's no such thing as
Um,
perfect.
yeah, but it's something that we need to make. You can't do it all. Like,
No.
what you can do is kind of like, I don't think leadership is about sort of modeling a perfect self-care practice, but I think it can be about recognizing we're all part of an ecosystem, and
Yeah.
our nervous systems. This is something that I really believe in, right?
Yeah.
Especially because we're person to person industry, it's human to human. This is the product, is our people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Our nervous systems regulate each other,
Yeah.
and calm is contagious. And the
It
truth
is.
is, right? The truth is, our offices and organizations have nervous systems too.
Yeah.
And when our collective nervous system is dysregulated, you see it, baby, in
Yeah.
culture, in burnout, and in
Yeah.
staff turnover. So
Yeah.
I just thought, right, this is self-taught to a degree,
Mm.
because it's quite a young industry. But I thought, well, what can my responsibility be then? I think it has to be to regulate myself enough so I can bring steadiness wherever I go,
Yeah.
and then to weave that concept of regulation into the teams that I work with,
Yeah.
so that I guess calm doesn't just depend on one person, it becomes part of the organization's DNA. And
Mm.
that's very much what we do in our workshops, with our ground level staff. So as I say, it's cartography in so many ways, like it's map making. We're having conversations with providers and their staff, talking about concepts that probably haven't been raised enough, if at all. And
Yeah.
a lot of the staff I work with have not heard about this stuff before in regards to the nervous system. But that's very much what I teach.
Mm. Yeah.
I think it's just profoundly, profoundly important. It's the gift that I can bring anyway, not perfection, but awareness on it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too that really before COVID, no one had heard of self-care. But, since the lockdowns, people have gone, "Oh, what can I do?" And they've looked on Google or whatever and found this term self-care, and they've just run with that, which is
Mm,
great. But then also too, you've got other parts of caring for yourself that aren't a marketable product. It's not the bubble baths or the candles beside the bath with the smells in them. There's other things to self-care that isn't a product that you can buy.
Yeah, 100%. And we all, so many of us came into this space with ideas of how things should work.
Yep.
But the
And it doesn't
reality
work that way.
was very different. So we got a double slap from two sides, as well. And I think I had to learn the hard way that, self-care, is actually looking at how do we hold steady in that chaos,
Mm.
within our industry as well. And how do you do that as a leader?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I think, they kind of separate, we can't be in separate lanes.
Yeah.
There's a balance, but not in the neat way that we try and think it is, that we, after work, we go out and pick up our self-care box and then we do it and then we're fine for our families. um I think probably even as an industry, we need to rewrite what that actually looks like. And as I said, like, I'm doing what I can because I'm selfish in a degree that I want support workers in the industry for a long time. I want continuity of care for our participants.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful industry and they work so hard, they deserve not to burn out. And the biggest gift that I can give them is to teach them about that concept of nervous systems within the industry, but how powerful it is for them to learn how to regulate their own.
Yeah. And it's like you said before, your daughter is a participant of the NDIS. So if you've got constant burnout, you've got constant turnover of support workers, there's no stability for her. And
Yep.
that's what you're trying to do is, and like, kind of selfishly, as you said before as well, but also
Yes.
in the industry, like, how can you provide stability to these people who need the stability the most, but because of company policies or lack of action from management, they're burning out at a rate that is ridiculously high. But then, as you said, the quality of the product is the people interactions, it's not the policies. And if the people aren't there to have that quality interaction, then your product is crap.
Yep, 100%. And
Yeah.
I didn't know how else to tackle it
Yeah.
other than, I've produced these courses and workshops, and every now and then I get the opportunity to speak in front of groups of people, groups of, owners and directors. And this is what I say, close your eyes for a moment. And
Yeah.
I want you to imagine that your organization has a nervous system, and not a metaphorical one, a real one, right? And it flinches when there's fear, and it tightens, when trust is broken, and it remembers pain, and it registers pressure, and it reacts to your leadership. And every interaction, right, it feeds into that system. And if you're not intentional, the system is going to default into survival mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are conversations we need to be having, but they're different. And this is where I go back to being like, Amy, well, the chance is that you may be a little bit misunderstood in order to rewrite the story. And
Yeah.
I say, look, if we want a different outcome, which we do, everybody saying, I want retention,
Yeah.
we're going to need to tell a different story.
Yeah.
So that's very much the work that we do, because when our teams sit within those fractured nervous systems, they stop engaging, they stop feeling connected. And before long, us in management, we're not leading a team anymore, we're
Mm.
managing symptoms.
Yeah. And for some people, we're back into that team as a support worker because the team has had to reduce for burnout and sick leave and absenteeism. We've had to step back from management into being a support worker to fix the problems that should have been fixed months ago.
Yeah,
And that's why, you and I are doing the work that we're doing is to fix those problems because
yeah,
like my youngest daughter's on the NDIS as well. And we've had 6 different speech therapists in 12 months
yes, yep,
because of burnout.
yep,
Um,
yep.
it's there's no stability.
Yeah, I think it is about building a culture that, people can step into, and we've got a responsibility as leadership within this industry. I've said it. There we go.
Yeah, good
And
job.
for me, right? For me, we anchor ourselves and, people in this industry with language. Like, language is not decoration; it's instruction, it's correction, it's direction.
Yeah.
right? Culture is not built through policy, it's built through what's said and what's tolerated over and over and over again. And it's that simple.
Yeah. But then also too, you get companies, probably not NDIS companies, but like, Fortune 200 businesses where culture is go and buy pizzas for lunch and put it on the lunch table, and there's your culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are
It's
your thoughts on
simply,
that?
well, I actually, I, I I feel like I'd really like to help, but sometimes they don't want to listen. But here comes the real test. Can you retain your staff?
Yeah.
And once we go through the recruitment process, I mean, we want to. We need to actually get serious about regulating the organization's nervous system by reinforcing the culture. And we do that by sort of making it a habit, because good ideas and posters and pizza days don't build culture. People or leadership and habits do. Our people, our workers don't follow the posters, they repeat habits.
Yeah.
So I think, like, this industry pulls us in a dozen different directions, and habit is our protection.
Mm.
And this is why I say that the choice for leadership and owners and building culture from the top is no longer a choice, it's mandatory.
Yeah. Yeah. But then also too, like changing that culture is going to, yes, retain staff. It's going to recruit better staff. It's going to provide stability to the ecosystem and the nervous system of the company. But it's also going to create an environment where staff are psychologically safe,
Yes.
which then, the work health and safety legislation states that companies are responsible for that psychological safety of staff.
Yes. Yes.
So you're maintaining the quality of your service and the longevity of it, but also meeting the work health and safety legislation requirements.
Yes. Yes. But how do we do it?
Yeah.
This is the thing. And this is where Amy Gray stuck her neck out. And I said, oh, well, I've got a plan. Who wants to hear it? It's
Yeah.
called cultural tattooing, right? And that's part of the stuff that I've built.
Yeah.
When you repeat something often enough through language, behavior, and leadership example, right, it stops being a reminder and starts becoming a reflex. And
Yeah.
that has to be the goal within these organizations. You don't want staff thinking about dignity, you want them responding with it
Yeah.
without hesitation, right? Because they've heard it and they've seen it and they've lived it.
Yeah.
And that's what I say. Okay, let's build that then.
Mm. Yeah,
Um, and
absolutely.
and like cultural tattooing, right? It's felt and permanent. And we know a couple of things, right? If our purpose and giving our staff a good culture isn't tattooed into our team, it is going to be erased by burnout every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
We know in high pressure, emotionally complex work, right? Culture does not just need to be taught, it needs to be
Yeah.
tattooed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And
So,
we only do that by leadership.
yeah.
That's it. there's
Yeah.
no there's no magic fix, there's nothing we can jam down the throats of our staff. It has to come from the top.
Yeah. Yeah. Has there been a book or a podcast other than the books that you've written yourself, which are great, that has, helped shape the way you think about self-care and leadership that others could read?
Brett, gosh, I'm not up to date with anything, or I'm not very interesting, to be honest, at all.
This is where you
I
plug your own books, Amy.
I actually haven't. I'm what they call little Alice in Wonderland writer. I go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I can't give anyone any hot tips on
That's all right.
podcasts or anything like that.
That's okay. And the last question that I like to ask everyone is,
Yep.
what's the biggest tip that you can give to someone when it comes to self-care?
Do you know what? I am a burnout queen. But this would be the tip that I'd give, right? And I've learned this one the hard way. Lots of the stuff I talk about is just literally learning the hard way. if I could say something to myself 5 years ago, I would say, Amy, stop thinking about self-care as something you do outside of work and start thinking of it as something you build inside of your work.
Yeah.
Because I was, like you or everyone, like years, I thought that self-care was, something I do after, being a parent, after we get through this flare up of seizures, after we sort of pay all these bills, after, the business survives another week. But the truth is, we all know after just doesn't come, does
Yeah.
it, Brett?
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And it's the same thing with, the work pressures that we're trying to, alleviate through self-care. It's, you know, once the audit has come through, then I'll do the self-care. Like I said
Yeah.
before, it's if we can do these self-care throughout the workday, like the micro self-care, or build it into the way that work is done,
Mhm.
it's going to make those high stress periods not as stressful and easily managed.
Yeah, I think self-care is pretty hard, to be honest. And I'm just sort of starting with the concept of regulation
Mm,
and regulating myself, and because calm is contagious, yeah, and doing that in the cracks of real life.
yeah,
Um, and I kind of learned that self-care is not a destination that I thought it was going to be. And I'm sort of responsible, right, to build it into the way that I move
yeah,
throughout the whole sector. And that is coming back down to just r- regulating myself and others.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. So, if people want to find the courses that you're offering and the work that you do, where can they find you?
I'm not the greatest at this, but I think LinkedIn is great for us,
Yeah,
and it's Amy Gray, NDIS Black Belt. Something should pop up
yep.
there. I'm sure there are websites, but if I say it, I might give you the wrong letters.
That's all right. I can add your link to LinkedIn in the show notes as well.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome. Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thanks so much, Brett.
Cool. Thank you. And as always, if this episode has helped you, pass it on to someone who might need the help from this valuable conversation with Amy. And remember, take care of yourself first so you can take care of others.